faces an enormous food crisis right now.
He who controls food controls the world.
Mankind is facing a massive threat. But it is not the threat of global warming or the threat of terrorism. It comes in the form of an insidious set of food standards known as Codex Alimentarius. This legislation brings with it the control of all food and effectively criminalises nutrition. This is the most pressing plan of the elite, and it is a plan that is already well underway. Indeed, many of these standards have already been adopted throughout the world. Through Codex, the elite have managed to either phase out or take control of all vitamin and nutrient companies. They've introduced deadly toxins into people's diets and purposely created nutrient-deficient foods through the control and genetic manipulation of world seed stocks, and they have already reclassified many nutrients as toxins. As one example of this, in February 2009, under Codex guidelines, the government of Thailand passed legislation forbidding the cultivation of a number of useful and medicinal herbs, including turmeric, chili and ginger, by reclassifying these plants as hazardous substances. The global implementation of Codex Alimentarius becomes effective between December 2009 and February 2010. This will effectively condemn select sections of the global population to death through the forced consumption of toxic and nutrient-deficient foods. Depopulation is high on the globalist agenda. It is happening right now, right before your eyes. They are doing it in the Middle East with wars and starvation, and in Western countries with food toxins, water toxins and aerial spraying. The underground seed vaults being constructed around the world are not to protect the world's seeds from any coming catastrophe. They are to protect the genetically pure and wholesome seed stock of the elite, in order to provide them with clean, nutrient-rich food for years to come, and to keep the supply out of the hands of the people, who will be fed nutrient-devoid, genetically modified foods designed to kill them, but slowly, so the people don't notice it being done. If we allow Codex Alimentarius to be implemented worldwide, it is expected that in the first 3 years, 3 billion people will die from preventable diseases and malnutrition alone. Please understand that this is a plan to depopulate at least 80% of the world, and that most likely includes you. And no, this is not a joke, and it is not some wild conspiracy theory. It is the absolute truth. And this matter seriously needs to be addressed. All the information regarding this is available in the public domain, though of course you are not hearing it being reported by the mainstream media due to the simple fact that the money cartels who are implementing the plan own the mainstream media. There are an enormous amount of people who have been trying to warn you about this, but the people are kept distracted by any and every means conceivable to distract them. Distracted by taxes, by sex, by crime, by media propaganda, by sport, body image, fashion, meaningless celebrity gossip, by war, the threat of terrorism, global warming, by TV, and more TV. Bringing this information to the public is the most important and challenging task humanity has ever been faced with. This time, what is at stake is our global survival, and it is a situation that we cannot allow to be ignored.
Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace.
The subject matter that has been presented to you in this film may at first seem overwhelming, and it is very likely difficult to come to terms with. It is important to understand that the information has not been presented in order to instill fear, but rather to raise an awareness of what is truly happening in our world. It is not the time for despair at this information, but rather it is an opportunity for new hope. But should we fail to act on this information, then the world that we are allowing to be created for our children may well be a world that would not be worth living in. The reality is that this world does not have to be this way at all. It does not have to be heading in the direction it is heading. People do not have to live in a never-ending sea of self-generating debt. Wars do not have to be fought. And children do not have to starve. This has been unfolding for many, many years, but the people are kept distracted by design, so for the most part they haven't yet noticed. Whatever your perception of this reality is, you need to understand that a clear and present situation exists on this planet. It is happening right now, and it requires your urgent attention. Can you see how this has been done? Can you see the reality that we have been collectively taught as whole societies to ignore everything around us and to focus our attentions on the collecting of as much money as possible from either working for or profiting from another human being, and then to use it to buy as many baubles and trinkets as we can in order to gain more status in our society. And we have been convinced by television that such pursuits are actually the meaning of life. The ruling elite understand this, and they know that if you can control the emotions and the beliefs of enough of the population, you can control the entire species and quite literally create whatever reality you desire. And they have used our energy to create the world we now inhabit. The key to addressing this situation is to understand your own potential and to understand the true nature of energy. This is truly how it works.